Digimon reference manual look. So, it's been about a week. Hopefully we're going to more stabilize the schedule. I'm going to start early, mostly because when things get dark, I tend to get the... plus, I'd like to also work on the review. My hope is to go through a good chunk of the... That's my phone. Through the reference manual today. We'll see how far we can go. Hopefully a bit. Updates and news. I've decided against streaming of Tarkov for the moment. Mostly because I'm a bit concerned about... I forgot about where the game came from. And I'm a bit concerned over issues with that. So we're going to put a pin in that. Other streams, other ideas. Obviously, streaming a Digimon game is on the table. I'll consider it. The Steam Awards are currently up. So, if you do like Digimon Time Stranger, I would highly recommend nominating it. Certainly a lot more than what the Video Game Awards did. That was a nasty snub. Other things. This might be the last stream I use my Blue Yeti. Well, sorry, my Blue Snowball. Reason being is I am updating to an XLR mic. We're still experimenting and still figuring out how to go about it, but hopefully I'll be able to use a higher quality mic moving forward. That's the plan, at least. So, with the news out of the way, how does this work? Basically, the Digimon reference manual stream is I look at some Digimon, give my opinion on them, we read the description, I say something positive I like about the Digimon, something I dislike about the Digimon design, and then I give an idea of how I would change. Some things to note, I can't just be it simple and say, I don't like it because it doesn't look like a Digimon. I have to actually explain why I like it or why I dislike. It can't be vague. I also give about 20 to 30 seconds of rest to give my throat some time to relax, while also giving time for you guys to interact. This is an interacting stream, and I do like hearing what you guys like to say. One little tidbit about these, when a Digimon is listed as perfect, that usually means it's a design that I think really encapsulates what a Digimon is, and is one that I really like. If it's something that I don't, well, it can still be a good design. Remember, these are all subjective. These are all my opinion on the designs. This isn't concrete. And in some cases, I may even change my opinion on the design on the fly. With that out of the way, we ended on Eosmon yesterday. Sorry, 2 weeks ago. We're going to continue with XVmon. XVmon. Mythical dragon Digimon that gained Vmon's original power and digivolved to champion. XVmon is the purebred Veedramon, who is said to be a derivative species. Attacks with its developed arm and leg strength are capable of destroying a mountain of boulders without leaving a trace. It is feared for this destructive power, but in truth it has a strong sense of justice, and does not use its power recklessly. XVmon's signature move, Strong Crunch, is an intense biting attack. It uses special move V-Laser to fire an energy beam from the X-shaped mark on its chest. So, design-wise, we have Vmon's champion form, actual form. This isn't the armor evolutions, which get weird. From what I understand, XVmon, this was made after Veedramon was made. Hence why the connection, hence why they had to specify. Veedramon is an older Digimon that appeared in the manga, if I recall, but XVmon is the actual one they went with. I think there was some legal rights. The manga is a bit weird. I don't know too much about it. As for design, we are following off of Vmon, which we can see right here. We've added in the nose spike. We've added in knuckles. We've added in... They're white wings, but they come off more angelic. Really, realistically, this is more like Absolute Vmon, if you know that, the Absolute, DC's Absolute series. Things with the design, I like that they're following the Vmon line. They didn't deviate too much with what Vmon is. And it does remind me, there was another show that one of the artists of Digimon made. I forgot its name, but a lot of the character designs in that show look a lot like Digimon. I may have to put that up in notes later, but this really shows that similarity. Things about the design I don't like. Things about the design I like. I like that it continues Vmon. It really does look like a roided out Vmon, and that's an interesting way to go with the champion. What I dislike about the design, I think the spike on the snout is maybe a bit much. Granted, it is a continuation of the spike on Vbon's nose. Excuse me. The X, I see this a lot in anime where they put the X on the chest to signify that that's where they've been sliced at. It's alright. Kind of would have preferred if this was more of like a scar rather than like a metal discharge plate, but that's just me. I think what's really I dislike is the wings because they're white. And whenever you do that, they usually come off more as angelic wings, and I think that's kind of throwing me off with the design. As for, I think the wings and the horn really I don't like. What I would change with the design, and we see it here, Pale Dramon, I would want to make the wings maybe the inside red with the outside black, sort of a slight reference to this design. I know it has the white wings, but I think you need to add in some of that black, maybe even green, to signify that it's going to lead towards Pale Dramon. That, and it does have a connection to Wormmon. So I would have liked to have seen that sort of connection. So as I said, things I like that it continues the Vmon line. I don't like the nose spike and the wings, and if I were to change it, I would make the wings a different color so that it isn't white and coming off as angelic. That's just my design, my idea. So, 30 seconds. And like I said, I will try to find that anime that I'm talking about. In fact, I may do it right now. And we'll look at it. So, we're going to move on to our next Digimon. Exermon. A Digimon that digivolved from data on yoga teachings. Exermon lives primarily in alpine regions, where it practices its own unique fighting style that makes use of its particular invertebrate-like movements. Blessed with impeccable balance and a strong core, it can support its entire weight on its rear stinger in a variety of seemingly impossible poses. Meanwhile, its feelers absorb sunlight, which its body converts into electrical energy. In battle... Hold on. Sorry about that. In battle, Exermon uses Insect Mind to telepathically confuse its opponent via its feelers. With Defib Shock, Exermon shocks the opponent by touching it with two fists, one positively charged and one negatively. So, we have a Yoga Digimon. Things about the design. We got an Insectoid. not very different from what we see with a lot of insect Digimon. From what I understand, I believe this was from the Pulsemon line, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've messed with the VB bit. Things about this design. If I'm looking it down, it's because of my screen. The shine makes it hard to see the design. We have that multiple arm Kali situation, which is a unique design, and it definitely works with the insect concept. I was going to think maybe this is a ref. To Journey to the West, there's a ref. My understanding is Temujin is not Temujin. The monk, I forgot his name, is the reincarnation of the Holy Mantis. I have never read the book. I'm going off of what OSP said, but I maybe can misidentifying. Regardless, it's interesting that they're going with an insect with yoga, and they're especially with the design. Things I like about it: it's insectoid. It's interesting that they're working the insect with yoga. That is something I like. I also like how they tried to make specific color points so that you can easily identify slight quick movement, slight heavy movements without confusing things, if that makes any sense. I like these you got points of reference is what I'm saying. What I don't like about the design, I think it's probably the color. I think the carapace is a bit too dark, that it gets a bit muddled to see where they're trying to go with the design, what pose it's trying to be in. If I were to change this design, I would make the carapace probably a lighter color. Probably something that works well with the green and yellow, but just something where it's better, easy to read what the body shape is supposed to be. Otherwise, it's a pretty good design. I like it. It doesn't reach the perfect status, but it's pretty close. I really hope it doesn't rain. That's rain. Well, hopefully it doesn't thunder. Don't you dare thunder. So, things I like about the design. I like it's insectoid working with yoga. Perfect design. Oh, so it's just rain. I'm sorry if I'm paying attention. I 3D printed some items and they painted them, and I'm trying to make sure they're not going to be damaged. Looks the design. I like the yoga insect. I like the different colors working together to kind of give you reference points. What I don't like is the color of the carapace. It needs something lighter so we can it's easier to read. A little bit easier to read with reference. As for what I would change, I would probably change the color of the carapace so it's not as dark. So, 30 seconds. Let me turn a fan on. Right, that doesn't have power. I'll worry about that later. So, 30 seconds have passed. We're moving on to our next Digimon. Icemon. Icemon, a Digimon that can hide in shadow. Icemon grows stronger the more data it accumulates, surpassing even ultimate level power depending on the amount stored. Its countless eyes capture any and all movement of its enemies. Icemon uses its special move Janagan, I don't know how to pronounce that, to fire cursed beams from all its eyes. Our deceptive illusion to materialize stored data into offensive and defensive objects. So we basically have an Eldritch Horror. It's interesting that they went that route with eyes and didn't just make like a bunch of eyeball monsters. So I like that concept. It reminds me of Alucard from Hellsing, where when he uses his powers, it oftentimes creates this dark, shadowy thing with a bunch of eyes. I like that. I like that way of going with the character. They really work up the Eldritch aspect of the character. Things I like about the design, I like that it's creepy. It looks like an Eldritch horror. What I don't like about the design, I think what I dislike about the design is it's a bit too muddled, but then again, that works into the Eldritch concept. Really, given what we're working with, there isn't too much issue. But it does seem like they're going for a more abstract, and I don't know if that's a good direction or not. If I were to change the design, I think what I would want to do... This is a hard one. We're dealing with an abstract Digimon that I can't really think of much of what I dislike about it. I don't think this is a design I could change, because it's leaning into the Eldritch horror, and it's abstract, and that really does help Eldritch horror. With that, and even when I said something I don't like about it, it's not even really applicable. I'm going to say that this is a perfect design. Now, maybe it doesn't lead champion. It feels more like a stronger Digimon. But as we've seen with even rookies, the design of the Digimon can get very weird. So, I'm going to say I like that it leads into the Eldritch aspect of horror. What I don't like about it is it's a bit hard to read, but that works with Eldritch. And then I don't really have anything I would change with the design. I'm going to give it the perfect. So how are you guys doing? I know I like to talk and all, but I do like getting you guys' input. You know, anything up with you guys? I know Thanksgiving is next week, which unfortunately I'm working, but money don't grow on trees, unfortunately. Eyes mode, scattered mode. The scattered form of Eismon. Eismon scatter mode monitors social networking services streaming high volumes of data, devouring and storing the largest chunks. Although one of these Digimon is weak when alone due to fragmentation, they will reform into a single entity to counterattack in the face of danger. Eismon scatter mode uses its special move, what that is, to fire a cursed beam from its eyes, or shadow bind to enter enemy shadow to control its movements. So, we have a weaker form of the previous one. It looks like a shadowy being. I like that they went with Shadow Monster. What I dislike is it's easy to identify it, which kind of goes away from the Eldritch horror. If I were to change it, I would omit the two eyes and just keep it to one eye to really show that this is an alien design. Unlike its standard mode, this doesn't get the perfect. It's an alright design, but this feels like this is intended to be more like an attack or a secondary feature of Eismon. So, as I said, what I like about it, still Eldritch horror. What I dislike, it's very easy to read, and with Eldritch horror, you kind of have to lead into hard to comprehend. And if I were to change it, I would just keep the one eye. I wouldn't go two eyes. Think Ghostface from Ben 10. 30 seconds. What's going on in Discord? moving on. Moving on to our next Digimon. We're going into Fangmon. Fangmon, a dark beast Digimon that resides deep in the forest, preying on those who get lost within. Fangmon is said to be the Digimon form of big bad wolves that appear in several fairy tales. It allows no prey to escape once it has it in its sights, even disguising itself as a friendly face on occasion to get close to them. It is considered a heretic by canine Digimon. If Garurumon is a being of light, Fangmon is a being of darkness. It uses its signature move, Snipe Steal, to pilfer weapons or items from its enemies with agile movements. Fangmon's special move is Blast Coffin. So, right off the gate, I'm going to say the design doesn't read wolf. It reads more like fox, and I realize foxes and wolves are very similar, but going off what we're going with Swiper, swiping weapons, Swiper no swiping, and between the color and just how narrow it is, this reads more like a red fox than a wolf. So right from the get-go, that's something I think they messed up with the design. I understand why they can't do fox, because you already have Renamon, and you're leading, and that other Digimon that sometimes pops up. So I can understand why you don't want to add another fox, and you want to go more towards wolf. But that's not what the design reads here. This reads fox, not wolf. As for what I like about the design, I'm glad we have a more canine-esque design. Another canine-esque design to go off of things. Alright. What I dislike about the design, and this is a lot of things. One, this is not a wolf. This is a fox. If you're going to go for a wolf, you're going to want... I was going to say remove the red, but I've seen some concepts where that works, especially with Red Riding Hood. I would say, first off, make this a more fuller or more muscular beast. If this is a wolf, it is an exceptionally anemic wolf. Like I said, this is more of a fox. I'm also questioning the BDSM gear. Especially since it's a data, not a virus. Generally, you see the BDSM gear on a lot of viruses. Look at Lady Devimon and Devimon. This is a very weird... I don't like that. It feels wrong. As for what I would change, look, you're making a wolf. A vicious wolf. Thick, I hate to say bring the BDSM gear. This needs to be a thicker animal. More core strength, more... You really want to lean into if this is a strong beast that's going to take you down. Putting the restraints on it makes no sense. I would omit those. There are other things you can add to the design to really emphasize the strength of a beast. This does not emphasize strength of a beast. This doesn't even read Big Bad Wolf. This just reads Fox. This is not a wolf. This is not a design I like. It feels like something happened behind the scenes. So to recap, what I like about this design. What I like, I appreciate that we've got another canine style Digimon in the concept. What I don't like, this is not a wolf, this is a fox. What I would change, you need to make it stronger. It needs to look more like a beefed up animal. And you need to omit the BDSM gear. There is something else. This is, as XEOU1778 says, yes, he's way too skinny. This is not a wolf, and I have a feeling this was originally supposed to be a fox Digimon, but it was changed. Even wolves that are skinny or get anemic, why you're going off of the big bad wolf. You want to make it vicious, you have to make it a monster that's going to come after you, not mangy fox that's tired. This what gear? B If you look at the legs, we've got these leather connections. BDSM gear. I don't know why that's added to the design. It doesn't make it stronger. It doesn't. It's restraining it. So, I don't. If this is supposed to be the big bad wolf, they did a terrible job. Like I said, this reads fox, not wolf. So, 30 seconds. And I am aware that Fangmon has appeared in one of the Beat Break episodes. It might just be that from here, this feels more small. May just be that the artwork is smaller, but I don't know. This is not a wolf. Oh, the wolf kind of has the same design as the wolf in the movie Night of the Zoopocalypse. Night of the Zoopocalypse. Hold on. Why does... we're just going to bring that up. From the mind of Clive Barker. I can see that. The only thing I'll say that this design... This does read like a wolf. Partially that comes down to the color. I will say Renamon 5658. That's a good observation. This is why I like having you guys comment, because things like this I don't catch. The only difference I'll say is this leans more towards a stylization, and the Clive Barker thing leans more towards stylization, whereas the Fangmon is more... I'll put it this way. Fangmon, you're trying to make a horror character. I'm going to go off of assuming with this film that's supposed to be a main character, and there are different design language you have to follow between monster and main character. But that is a good catch. It is similar. So with that, we're going to move on. Philmon. A beast-man Digimon with countless large quills growing from its body. Philmon's red claws can pierce through anything, and its yellow quills pour energy into whatever they stab. It gathers up comfortable nest materials while seeking out its favorite foods in a laid-back manner. Philmon uses its special move, Lightning Stinger, to skewer the enemy with its quills and pour energy into them to destroy their data. Arc Crimson Slash to slash the opponent incessantly with both claws. So, as we know, this originally started as Harrismon. Okay design. My understanding is this Digimon came from the app game that has been discontinued. We're getting into something similar like XVmon. Very powerful Digimon that shows a continuation from a previous design. That's something I like. I don't really have much to say about the design to comment. It feels like Harrismon's grown up. That being said, going off of the description to say that it's in a laid-back manner, the artwork doesn't read that. It reads more like ready to fight, especially when you add in the boxing tape. So we're having a description and a design issue here. As for what I like about the design, I like that it continues Harrismon. The quills on the back, this might just be the artwork, but it does feel like they're going for the ponytail approach, which is an interesting way to go with the design. It still reads porcupine, hedgehog, I have to remind myself, but it's an interesting use of quills, sort of like what the Predator does, where, they have those dreadlock hairs, but they're actually more than just hair. They're actually sensory organs. What I don't like about the design, nothing about it reads laid back. And when you're saying, oh, it's a laid back Digimon, this doesn't really read laid back. Now, that might just be the artwork doing some weirdness here. We've seen that before. But I don't like that you're saying it's laid back, but it doesn't read laid back. I think if I were to change the design, I think what I would probably do is omit the boxing tape on the arms, on the hands, because that's leaning more... With the red spike claws coming out, it almost looks like something has stabbed the Digimon in the hands to make them bleed, and that's holding the hands down to protect them, which we know is not the case. I would say omit the boxing tape. Otherwise, it's a very good design. It's weird seeing XVmon language in another Digimon. Design language. So what I'll say is, what I like about the Digimon, I like that it's a continuation of Harrismon. I like the ponytail quills. What I don't like is it doesn't read like a... It doesn't really read laid back, which is what the description says it's supposed to be. And if I were to change it, I would omit the boxing tape. So, yeah. It almost gets the... Philemon should have more quills. Yes. We haven't reached the Digimon yet, but one of the Digimon from Ghost Game, I forgot what it was. They're that big Digimon. And when it digivolves, it becomes a significantly more thinner Digimon, but still dangerous. Add extra quills. Still show that this is a fit and well-exercised Digimon, but use the quills to add bulk. That's what I would do. Making it both dangerous and making it big, but also showing some strength. Otherwise, yeah. A good catch, Renamon 5658. But yeah, it needs more quills. It doesn't really read Harrismon. Well, let me rephrase that. It reads like it continues from Harrismon, but you need more quills. So, 30 seconds. Seeing how the views and chat are going, I should probably start this earlier. 3:30 is probably the best start to start this. So we're going to go down to Pheromon. A beast Digimon known as the Soaring Lion. Pheromon is a helpful leader among Digimon who protects certain ruins in the digital world. It uses its special move, Flame Dive, to burst into flame and dive bomb the enemy from the skies above. Or Claw to slice its foes with powerful forelimbs, engulfed in flames. Pheromon also uses Bomb to gather all the power in its body into its forehead before unleashing an explosion of flames. So I believe this is a Digimon... Yeah, Coronamon. This is a continuation of Coronamon. A fire dragon design. Again, we have a good connection from Coronamon to Pheromon. Well, no, we don't. Because Coronamon just looks like a fire imp thing. This goes more into a lion. So they did do something unique with that. Um, Protecting certain ruins. I think those are a reference to. No, those aren't. If you ever go in front of a lot of Chinese restaurants, sometimes they'll have these big um, dog-like statues up front. I was confusing them with lions. They're not. They're supposed to be food dog. No, they're not food dog. There's some style of dog. I forgot their name. You've always seen them in front of Chinese restaurants. Well, usually. I was thinking that's where they were going with. No, it's not. I'm almost thinking they're trying to go with a Sphinx design with this. But I don't recall Sphinxes having any connection with fire. Winged lion? Regardless, the design reads lion, fire lion. That's alright. Things I like about the design. Relatively easy to read. It's a fire lion. That's not too difficult to go around with. It's relatively simple. Things I don't like the wings. I just don't. I think it overcomplicates the design. You have a good concept with the fire lion. We really don't need these wings. I understand they create a more heroic design, but I think it's too much. As for what I would change, obviously I would omit the wings. I would also probably add some more fire to the design. Probably make the mane have parts of it be fire. I know we have it on the forehead and on the earlets, but other than that, I think the wings are taking too much from the design. So, thing about the design, I like the idea of a fire lion. I dislike the wings, and if I were to change this, I would omit the wings and maybe add some more fire to the design. It's an okay design, but I don't know. We've already got the lions down pat with Leomon. That being said, it is good to see other lion Digimon that aren't just Leomon, especially given the Leomon curse. So, 30 seconds. Any comments, ideas, contents? With that, we're going to move on to the next Digimon. Florizamon. A fire dragon whose entire body is wreathed in fire. Florizamon is a hot-blooded Digimon with the power of a dragon and the heart that burns like fire. Okay. It creates the flames enveloping its body by igniting its high-temperature skin, and thanks to the incredible regenerative abilities of its skin, it will continue to burn until it draws its final breath. The claws on both hands are superheated by roasting in its body's flames, causing any foe struck by them to suffer damage from both lacerations and burns. I wonder if it's an Abinakus. Abinakus. Oh, burns. It uses a signature move, Flame Tower, to form its body's flames into a giant pillar that it shoots at the enemy. With flame heat, it rapidly shoots high-temperature flame bullets. Let me see what this Abinakus is. Huh. Let me check Wikimon real quick. We'll get to Florizamon real quick. Let me just go back, because sometimes Wikimon will sometimes say what a design is based off of. No, it's alright. I'm actually curious about this. Reference number and name and etymology. According to Wikimon, it just says Sky Soaring Lion. There doesn't seem to be any name and etymology. Fira, Flame. No, it doesn't seem to really change much. It doesn't look like it's based off of that creature. I think what happens is they just wanted a fire dragon, they added wings. But you never know. Flarizamon, fire lizard. This design I'm a little with. I appreciate that we've got we got fire with a giant skull with a metal mask on it. Interesting design language. We already do have a fire Digimon. This I think what I dislike with this design that I'm a bit miffed with is we already have a Digimon, I believe it's called Magnamon. No, wrong Digimon. I'm thinking of someone else. Meramon. And I think my problem with this Digimon is it fits the same area as Meramon. And they're both champions. I think with this design, you need to lean more into the lizard dragon aspect. With this, I mean, I like that they've added the metal mask and the claws to really show that yes, this isn't a man on fire. So I appreciate that. What I like about I like that they've added something to show that this isn't just a fire being. What I don't like is they didn't really add much else. You just have fire limbs holding a metal head and claws. If I were to change this design, I would want to make something to show that it's wearing scale or something to really show there's more to this than just fire. Maybe add a metal plate to the chest or the arms and have the fire going around those plates. Add claws to the feet because you have it on the hands. You might as well put them on the feet. I don't know why they don't have them on the feet. I think my big problem with this design is we already have Meramon. So having a fire lizard thing, interesting in theory, but the execution doesn't really lean towards that. You need something to really work with to show. It needs to differentiate from Meramon, is what I'm saying. And they're leaning too much into Meramon. So, to recap, what I like about the design, I like the head and the claws. What I don't like, it reads too much like Meramon. And it doesn't feel like they did much to change it from Meramon. And what I would change with it is add more aspects like the helmet and the claws to the design so that it reads a lot more like its own Mon rather than just Lizard Meramon. It's an okay design, but we could do better. So, 30 seconds. I'm going to have some water. Ooh. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer in case anyone wants to comment, because I know I tend to go through those pretty fast. And I think we're going to move on to the next Digimon. Flymon. A brutal insectoid Digimon with massive wings. These wings allow Flymon to skirt through the air at ultra-high speeds, creating sonic booms in its wake that rob unlucky victims of their hearing. Its body is protected by a tough carapace, and it pinches foes with its huge talons before killing them, with extra potent venomous stinger in its tail. The digivolution process of insectoid Digimon is still unknown, but from its face, some have summarized Flymon originally Digimon from a Kumamon-type creature. It uses its special move, Brown Stingers, to shoot a stinger from its tail that completely paralyzes the Digimon it stabs, turning their body purple before ending their life. Incidentally, this nasty stinger can be regrown over and over again. So, with the design, with this, I can see the Karamon connection. The Kunamon. Why am I saying Karamon? The Kunamon connection, especially with the mouth. Interesting concept. The thing I'll say about the design, we're leaning more into a wasp than a fly, which kind of leads to some weird confusion. I will say it does remind me of a Cazador from Fallout. So, yay. Also very much like a flower, which is interesting. I think the problem with the design is the name, because it says Flymon, but this reads more like a wasp. But, you know, there isn't much you can really say. It's decent, it's alright with... I'm not gonna penalize it with name. I will say the design is very muddled. Maybe a bit too much. It's kind of burns the eyes. I know they say they get rid of the hearing, but it really does burn the eye. As for what I like about the design, I like that they added the eyes to the wing. It kind of reminds me of Eismon in a way. So that's an interesting little... I know this is an older Digimon, so I'm not going to say, oh, it leads to Eismon. No, it's an older Digimon. And I'm wondering if there's some connection design-wise. Like they wanted to reference just a similar design. So I like the eyes on the wings. That's an interesting idea. What I don't like, I think what I dislike about the design is how muddled it is, because you have all these colors working around it. You've got the blue fur on the back. You have the red collar, which is weird. I'm not going to complain about the purple wings. You've got the black bands on the abdomen. This is a very muddled design, and I don't think it really fits together all that well. If I were to change this design, I would probably simplify the colors, because we've got way too much color saturation here. It's just all over the place. So, to recap, I like the eyes on the wings. I think the Kunamon connection is okay. Could be a bit better, but it's alright. I don't like the overcomplication of the design, and if I were to change this, I would probably remove a lot of the colors to something that's a little more muted, because this kind of burns the retinas. So, 30 seconds. So, moving on. Forge Bmon. We got the X antibody. An android Digimon that inhabits a mysterious secret honey base in the sky known as the Royal Base. While Waspmon is in charge of security for the base, Forgebemon is tasked with its construction. Its arms are equipped with glue guns that uses the honey adhesive created in its abdomen to bond materials together. On occasion, Fanbemon can get stuck to the materials they carry. In such situations, Forgebemon can use its auxiliary arms to skillfully rescue them. It possesses another pair of mecha arms with saw-like teeth, along with a variety of other equipment that can also provide offensive capabilities. While its arms are primarily used for construction, it cannot be taken lightly in combat. It's said that Forgebemon will toil away day and night for their queen, despite not understanding what it is they are building. Forgebemon rips its foes to shreds using the saw teeth in its tail in Torque Stinger's special move, while Bumble Welder discharges electrical energy from the welding arms that extend from its back. So, we have a bee that said, I'm forklift certified, and I think that's funny, and I like that. For the design, they took a bee, and they made it a forklift. They made it forklift certified. They added a lot of construction equipment, which is an interesting concept. I do like that they added in that it uses the glue-like material to make the hive for construction, because that's actually pretty accurate to bees in general. So I like that idea with the design. The yellow and black is an interesting motif using the construction hazard signs. It works very well with bees, and I can definitely see Potorabo using this Digimon. As for things I like about the design, I like the construction aesthetic. I like that they're mixing the hazard signs with the rest of the design to work together. It really does feel like a bee that's forklift certified. They nailed it. What I dislike about the design, I'll say it's a little hard to read. It may just be, that's probably just the artwork, but it is a little hard to read as towards what it looks altogether. As for what I would change, I think I would probably have different tools on different hands, just to show that it's a multi-purpose design. But overall, I like the design, and I will give it the perfect. It's an interesting use of concept of bees being builders, construction hazard signs. It's a very good design. So to recap, I like that it's a bee that's forklift certified. I like the use of the hazard signs and really making it that this is a construction being. What I don't like is it's a bit muddled and a bit difficult to read. And what I would change is I would probably add a different tool on each hand. So 30 seconds. We'll see how far we go with this stream, because I would like to go further than an hour. Frigimon. An ice snow Digimon whose body is covered in snow and ice crystals. In spite of its chilly appearance, Frigimon actually has a warm and gentle personality. This Digimon calms the hearts of those who observe it through sweet gestures and calm movements. Frigimon itself hates the idea of fighting and is ill-suited to Digimon who enjoy combat, Meramon in particular. It unleashes its special move, Sub-Zero Ice Punch, from its sizable frame. We have a polar bear Digimon, pretty much. Although I will say, with the design, from what I gather, this is based off of Japanese-style snowmen, which are very different from US style. Yes, there is a distinction between the two that, from what I understand, Japanese snowmen, the way how they design them is they're a little smaller and lean more towards a... They tend to flow, curve better together. There's more sculpting, whereas American, and I have a feeling European-style snowmen, they lean more towards big ball, medium ball, small ball. Something easy to put together, and also very big. So it's interesting to see that design language with Frigimon. As for designs, what I like that it looks like a snowman. I like that design quirk. It really does feel like something I could, well, with the exception of the feet, something that I or a kid could make if it snowed. As for what I dislike about the design, I don't think there's really much that I can say that I dislike about the Digimon. I think it partially comes down to it's a very simplistic and basic Digimon that there isn't really much I can complain about. If I were to change the Digimon, I would probably add some fingers to the hands and also to the feet. Something to make it feel more like a bear, a little less than a snowman, but still going into that snowman motif. So, to recap, what I like about the design, I like that it's a snowman. I like the snowman bear design. As for what I dislike, not really much I can say I dislike about the design. I would like it to be a little more complex. As for what I would change, I would add something like fingers or toes to the feet or hands. Although thinking about it, the hands do look like mittens, so maybe just the feet. Maybe just add some kind of claw-like design to the feet. Otherwise, I will say this does get the perfect. It's a cute design. It is one of the earlier Digimon, and it's pretty cute. It's a neat little guy. And you can see why this design keeps popping up from series to series. So, 30 seconds. Okay, so I just looked it up. The Japanese style snowman are called Yuki-Daruma, possibly because the shape is related to the Daruma doll. So, just wanted to bring that up, which is where I think they're going off of that. Fugamon. Digimon resembling the Oni of Japanese folklore. Fugamon is from the same clan as Ogremon and shares its wild, battle-loving nature. Attacks unleashed from this Digimon's tremendous muscles hold a terrible power, causing unadulterated destruction. Fugamon uses its special move, Evil Hurricane, to mow down everything with the swing of its bone glove. So, we've basically got an Ogremon, but we're leaning more towards the red Oni. This is a recolor, but unlike Ogremon, we do see some design changes. For one, they've added the tiger pelt, which is indicative of Oni. We see that a lot. They've also removed the horns, which is interesting. I know with a lot of Oni designs I've seen over the years, they have a tendency to add a single horn, either onto the side or the front. It's interesting to see that they've omitted the horn here. It is a recolor, so it does give it some negative modifiers, negative things in my opinion, but they do change enough that it is something on its own. So that is something I do like about the design. They've changed they've taken Ogremon and they've changed him enough that he's something different. As for what I dislike about the design, I'm not going to say recolor because that's an easy thing to say. I think what I dislike about the design is I think you could have leaned more into the Oni aesthetic, because it's a bit weird seeing a lack of horn, and I think it would have benefited with, say, one horn, even if it's just a short horn. Something to show that maybe some connection to Ogremon, other than the whole recolor. I can't get away from the recolor. It's like Mount Fuji. It's there, it's right there, and if you ignore it, you have to deliberately ignore it. So, tap on the shoulder and just leave it bare. Or maybe add in more tiger print. Something to really push forward with the Oni aesthetic. So, with the design, I like that it's a recolor, but they've worked it differently. Error, YouTube is not receiving enough material. What? We may be having a bit of technical issues. I don't know what's going on. So to recap, with the design, I like the Oni aesthetic. I like that they've taken a recolor, but they've tweaked it enough that it's its own thing. What was it that I disliked about the design? I think what I dislike about the design is I don't recall what I said. I think what I'll say is they've done enough to change it from being a recolor, but only barely. As for what I would change, I would probably add more tiger print, or perhaps even add a single horn. Something to really change it up from Ogremon. It almost reaches the perfect. Just barely, though. But it just narrowly misses it. 30 seconds. I'm going to keep an eye on YouTube because I have a feeling something weird's happening. I'm getting an error. How's the stream coming up on you guys' end? Because I'm assuming it's all coming up fine. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with this. Must be something with YouTube. Galemon. That is a lot of words. A bird dragon Digimon with large wings and distinct blade-like horns. Its hardened horns further developed than those of... Okay, there was a buffering thing. Okay, so it's... Okay. Galemon. Hardened horns further developed than those of Teromon. Grant Galemon a kind of sixth sense, allowing it to rapidly detect abnormalities in its surrounding through the winds they sense. Hi, Juan Gomez, KE5PY. The winds they sense. An intelligent Digimon, Galemon can strike first by utilizing its ability to protect not only environmental changes, but threats such as enemy ambushes and attacks as well. Also able to move around on its four legs, Galemon can sway low to the ground to conceal its presence as it approaches enemies. Also, its preferred diet comprises fruit and nuts. Is this in the Parrotmon line? No. This was actually the evolution of Teromon. Enemies. Galemon possesses a deep connection to herbivorous Digimon. It has a symbiotic relationship with those plant-eating Digimon who provide Galemon with food in return for protection of their territory. Galemon uses Hurricane Slicer technique to generate large gusts of razor-sharp wind while it while it uses its mouth to blow twisters at opponents when attacking with tornado launcher. No. It's not connected to the Parrotmon line. At least I don't think it is. Time to bring up Wikimon. No. It is not connected to Parrotmon because Parrotmon is a champion. No, it's an ultimate. I mean, Parrotmon's a ultimate? I thought it was a champion. Huh. No, it's not from the Parrotmon line. I think they're going more towards a pterodactyl. That's why I'm calling its previous evolution Terromon. If I remember correctly, this appeared in Digimon Liberators, which I think is still ongoing, but I could be wrong. What I like about the design, we basically have. It's odd because it's a lizard, but it's also wings, so we're leaning more towards the Areopteryx design language of dinosaurs with wings, which we're seeing more and more nowadays. I will say that was sort of a weird thing that was starting to appear when I was young. Oh, those years ago! So, but it's interesting to see that it's becoming more accepted. With the design, what I like is, again, we have a continuation from Terromon, as we see down there. We do have the feathers, which lead toward with the lizard. Why am I not talking well? What I don't like about the design, I think the fur collar is a bit much, but I do agree you need something around the neck and the arms, because otherwise it just looks like long snake. Although that does lead it to connection with Quetzalcoatl. So that's a weird. I like the feathered lizard, the feathered dragon design, but I do think with the neck, this needs to be changed to something else. I don't know if it should be changed to, like, say, armor plate or some extra feathers. All I know is I don't like this little design element, and I would omit it with probably something else. Maybe more feathers or perhaps armor. Otherwise, I'm going to say I'm going to give it the perfect, because it is an interesting design. It follows well with, again, Terromon, and again, feathered lizard. I'm almost going to say to almost omit the legs, but I'm okay with it. So things I like about the design, things I like the feathered lizard. I like the use of wings and feathers. I don't like the muffler around the neck, and if I were to change it, I would omit the muffler for something like, say, armor or additional feathers. 30 seconds. So let's try and go through at least 3 more. Ganemon. This is interesting. An older gentleman Digimon with a body resembling a 10 yen coin. Ganemon loves money and will use its silver tongue to swindle anyone out of their wealth, no matter who they might be. It also sends out many Zenimons to keep it in its suitcase to collect money. Ganemon then uses its mustache as radar to pick up those Zenimons after they've gotten a hold of some cash. Ganemon eats all the money it gets, increasing inside the more it lines its own stomach. Its special move is... Oh, what's going on with me? Gold bowling, which it hurls money at its foes. The more money it throws, the more powerful the attack. But that money can never be retrieved. can also use gold press to crush opponents with its entire body. The power of this attack changes depending on how much money Ganonmon has collected and therefore how big its body is. Note, Ganonmon was a winning submission in the original Digimon contest for Digimon Fusion. Ah, it's a Digimon Fusion Digimon, of course. Although, compared to a lot of the Digimon Fusion Cross Wars Digimon, it's actually, I can see this fit in Digimon. We basically got the Monopoly Man of Digimon. I will say it's interesting to see the lack of a monocle. And as much as I want to say add a monocle, I'm not. Because, yeah, it's... I think that may be a bit too much of an accessory. I do like the concept of money that throws money at all its problems. So it's a funny idea. What I dislike about the design... I don't think it's opulent enough. I think we need to add some more opulence to this. Maybe you need to add some more opulent, like maybe gold buckles to the shoes, maybe a gold buckle to the top hat. Something to really show that opulence, it has it. That's about like the only thing I don't like about the design. It's not opulent enough. You really have to lean in towards this thing's got money. If I were to change this design, I think I would add either a small goatee onto the bottom, or maybe even like, they're called bolo ties. You see Captain Sanders wear them. Like a little neat little bolo tie on the bottom to really sell the gentleman money thing, especially with the top hat. For Cross Wars designs, it's pretty good. I'm going to give it the perfect because I like the concept of money that gets richer with money. It's almost like a monopoly, like the Monopoly Man, and I like it. So to recap, I like the concept. I like that they leaned in to some extent with the "this is a rich guy." I don't like that they didn't lean in enough. You need to really push that. And if I were to change it, I would add something, either a goatee or a bolo tie. Or add more opulence, like gold buckles. But otherwise, it gets the perfect. Actually, it would be real funny if they gave him like golden brass knuckles. Just the, you owe money? There you go, we got the gold brass knuckles. That lead like a yen symbol. Gaogamon. Beast Digimon with a larger physique than Gaomon's. The claw is protected by its gloves having grown properly. Though Gaogamon is a quadruped, its legs are strong enough for it to stand like a bear while attacking. Gaogamon unleashes its special move, Dash Double Claw, at close range after approaching at speeds the enemy can't follow, and uses Gaogahound to bite its foes with strong teeth, clamping down until its opponent falls. It also uses Spiral Blow to shoot a powerful vortex-shaped wind from its mouth in one breath. So, we have a boxing dog. Interesting concept. Again, we're leading to an evolution of Gaomon. So, it is interesting that they went with continuing the boxing aesthetic, because that can be a bit hard to follow with a quadruped. What I like about the design is they did continue it. They kept the boxing gloves, although they seem to ill fit. But that's okay. As you work with exercise equipment, they do over time wear down. It's something you have to slowly work with. It's why you see a lot of punching bags have a tendency to have a lot of tape on them, because they're trying to hold the punching bag together. Punching bags do wear down. So that is interesting. They're showing that the equipment it uses is slowing down. It's starting to break down. What I don't like about the design, I think the headband becoming the collar and getting hands is a bit much for concept. I think it would have been better just to keep these as just standard wraps, and just the, especially since we know it can stand on its hind legs. This seems like an unnecessary addition with the hands. If I were to change this, I would just change these to ribbons. Don't even keep the hands. I like the concept. I like the design. It is going from Gaomon forward to a quadruped was an interesting design choice. That being said, I think it wasn't necessarily, with the way how they have the hands, that may have not been a great idea. I'll give it the perfect because I do like the concept. I do like the concept and the design. I don't like the execution. I think they would have done better. It's the hands. It's these weird hand things. I think these should have just been straps. You know, don't leave them hands. But otherwise, it's a neat design, and I like it. Before we continue, since we're going into Gargomon next, would you guys prefer if I hold off Gargomon for next session, or would you prefer if I end on Gargomon? Do we start strong or do we end strong? I'd like to get you guys' opinion on this. I think we're going to end with Gargomon. End strong. I like that. Before we continue, I want to look up something real quick because I know Gargomon is named after someone, which is very unusual. Galgo Espanol. Galgo Espanol. You're joking. I'm going to explain why I'm laughing at that. A Beastman Digimon digivolved from Terriermon and a special Hunter Digimon. Faster than its appearance suggests, Gargomon brings down its foes with unparalleled accuracy and precision. Gatomon will be in the next... And I like Gatomon. Powerful and precision. Its powerful legs let it jump high in the air, at which point it spreads its ears to glide. Cheerfully by nature, Gargomon may lose control once angered. It's obsessed with beloved Devi... That is leet speak. Devi 503XX genes. It uses a special move, Gatling Arm, to fire the twin Vulcans on both arms, or a dum-dum uppercut to get close to the enemy and thrust it from below with its Gatling Arm. Okay. Few things. And I didn't realize this. For those who don't know, Gargomon is named after the Galgo Espanol. So I'm going to show it on stream. AKA the Spanish Greyhound. I did not know that. I did not know that Gargomon was named after a dog. I thought they kind of ended with it after Terrier. That being said, there is nothing about Gargomon that reads Gargle Espanol other than hunting dog, which is apparently what Gargomon is. Also, I'm intrigued that they brought up dum-dum uppercut. For those who don't know, there's this type of bullet called a dum-dum bullet. Long story short, those are basically bullets that are designed to shatter. They are, I believe, considered illegal under the Geneva Convention, but you know how combat is. So that is interesting they're referencing that. As for the genes, they seem to just be genes. I don't think there's any sort of weird... Are you kidding me? So, apparently, Levi had Levi 503 genes. You've beaten me, Digimon. You put a lot of thought into this monster, into this being. You didn't just take a hunting dog. You didn't just take Terriermon, put genes in Gatling guns. You went, we're going to take Terriermon, we're going to find another dog to name it after. We're going to give it genes, which are actually in production. I think they're still in production. And we're going to go real hard into firearms design. This is why early Digimon is fun, because you get stuff like this. I'm gonna say I just like that they did all that. That is like a triple X of just constant hitting you with this. I love they did that. What I don't like, this doesn't feel like a Gargoyle Espanol, which now has me think something. Hold on. Because there is a black Gargomon. I bring this up because I'm wondering if maybe black Gargomon was the original design for Gargomon. Because this looks like a Gargoyle Espanol. That makes me think... I think we're getting in towards a Greymon situation. For those who don't know, Greymon's original design is supposed to be blue. But that was changed. Gargo was changed when the anime came out. Hold on. So, let me make sure I'm getting that. I'm not confusing with another Digimon. No, sorry, Metal Greymon. Metal Greymon was originally blue, but they later made it different due to the colors. I'm wondering if that's what happened with Gargomon. It was originally supposed to be black Gargomon, but because of Tamers, they wanted to continue the design language. No, because Gargomon appeared in 02 first. I don't know where they went with the design. If I was a betting man, I would say they wanted that original design. They wanted to keep the design, the lineage. I think that was what they did with the concept becoming Black Gargomon. I don't know if that's true or not, but given what a Gargoyle Espanol looks like, that Gargomon is named after that dog, I have a feeling that was the original intent, but it was changed due to wanting a connection to Terriermon. As for what I dislike about the design, I kind of would prefer if they had more connection to the Gargoyle Espanol, but then again, we've got Black Gargomon, so that really isn't valid. Really, I don't have anything I would say I would change. I think it's a perfect design. This is perhaps the most perfect Digimon out there. You've got an amazing concept. You've got gun knowledge that goes everywhere. You've got genes. It's a well-thought Digimon. The only thing I don't like is the colors, but that complaint is invalid when you have Black Gargomon. So, and I can see why they had it connect with Terriermon. So, kudos, Digimon. It's the Digimon that keeps giving. The most American Digimon... Well, no, that would be Gundramon. You have... This one deserves the perfect. We ended strong. We certainly ended strong. Oh, wow. yeah. So, about moving forward. 2 weeks, we'll meet again. We'll look at more designs. We'll hopefully we'll get to Gatomon. Still working on the BattleTech review. That's going to be slow going, but we're getting there. Other than that, remember to vote on the Game Awards on Steam for Digimon Next Evolution. Digimon. What is wrong with me? Digimon Time Stranger. Vote on Steam. Especially because they got snubbed at the Game Awards. We're getting pretty far with... We haven't reached halfway yet. We still have a lot of champions to go. And given how Beat Break's going, we may get another champion. But we'll see. But yeah. See you all in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll eventually... Oh, and remember to like and subscribe. If we reach 500 subscribers, I'll look into starting a Discord channel. So, yep. Like and subscribe, and see you all in 2 weeks. And happy Thanksgiving for those who celebrate it. So, be safe. Especially with travel in the U.S. right now. Bye. Yes, I'd like to end the stream.